Hello and welcome to our virtual yoga class. My name is Vanessa and I'm here to support you for the rest of your practice. So we'll begin class by laying on our backs. So take a moment to transition there. Noticing that your practice begins as you transition, as you are falling onto the mat, back of the head on the mat. You are beginning to shift your attention to your body, your breath. Now, we are cultivating a sense of this inner spaciousness, this presence. And sometimes it's more accessible, sometimes it's less accessible. You are creating some more space between you and your thoughts while you're working towards physical, mental, emotional health. So notice that each practice is different, but we are cultivating that ability to arrive to the mat. And you're doing so just by laying here. Just by laying here and noticing, you are practicing arriving to this present moment, that sort of awareness you need to successfully move through the poses and learn whatever it is that you particularly need to learn. Know where your learning edge is. So as you're laying here, inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. Releasing any culminated tension here. Inhale again. I recommend exhaling, sighing out. But of course, you always have the option to just regular exhale, to invite a regular exhale. Third breath, inhaling here, exhaling, sighing out. You're softening your neck, shoulders, all the way down to your heels. You want to notice the points where your body meets the mat, the back of the head, all the way down to your heels. You're noticing your belly expand as you inhale. Perhaps invite an intention for the rest of the class. It could be a word or phrase you continuously come back to. Generous breath, and now invite a full body stretch. So lifting your arms up overhead, pointing your toes. Finding length throughout the arms, releasing compression around the lower back and mid back. Pointing your toes. And then release that full body stretch. Both feet float off the floor. Grab your feet with your hand. Round your spine, forehead towards that knee. Hold. Release both feet on the mat, on the floor. We're gonna lift our hips, not all the way up, just halfway up. You're activating your glutes here. Releasing any compression around the lower back, and now release your hips back down. Take a breath. This time, lift your hips as high as you can. You're grounding through your heels for support. Balls of your feet, you're engaging your glutes. You can imagine a cord lifting you up from your abdomen. Palms are on the mat. See if you can find some higher lift here. And now release your hips back down towards the floor. Feet float off the floor, hands to your knees. Round your spine, forehead towards your knees. Release, start to lift up. We're gonna focus on our hamstrings here. We're gonna focus on one leg first. So press your right foot right against that left thigh. Flex your left foot, lengthen your spine here. And drop your belly towards your thigh and hold. Flex your left foot for a deeper stretch or relax that left foot. Inhale here. And then exhale, release. Now plant your right foot onto the mat. Take your left arm out, hook your elbow onto your knee, twist towards the right. Flex your left foot, lengthen your spine, chin moves towards that right shoulder. And now release. Opposite side, lengthen that right leg. Press your left foot against your thigh. Recommend flexing your foot, folding over at any point, softening that right foot. Breathe into the backs of your leg, the back of your leg, hamstring in particular. Deep belly breath. And then release the pose. Plant that left foot onto the mat. Take that right arm out. Twist towards the left. You're taking your chin towards that left shoulder. Flex your right foot. You're lengthening your spine. And then release. Now bring both soles of the feet together. Drop your chest so you can rest your elbows right in the creases of your knees. Hold. Notice where your edge is. Breathe into that edge. See where you can fold just a little bit more. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Now we'll transition to shift into our tabletop. Hands directly beneath our shoulders and knees, hips width distance apart. We're gonna inhale, open our chest, releasing the compression around the lower back. We're gonna lift that tailbone. Press through your palms here, and then round your spine, cat pose. You can linger in any of these two poses or move with your breath. Again, you have those choices, lingering with a pose into an extra breath cycle or two, or move with your breath in the flow. After you've done one more round, shift into a neutral tabletop. Lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your knee onto the mat, opposite side. Lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Knee on the mat, inhale up, cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, cat pose. We'll lift up into a downward facing dog. Breathe into the backs of your legs. Press through your palms, bring your chest closer towards your thighs. Find some lift here in the heels, in the hips. Deep belly breath. You want to take a couple of breaths in this downward facing dog. Your body is active, yet you're strongly supported through feet and hands. You're in an inversion. Your rib cage expands, inviting that breath to support you in this very stabilizing pose. This downward facing dog is a cornerstone to any yoga practice. If you ever have some sort of injury around your wrists or knees, you can always shift out of a downward facing dog and shift into a tabletop where there's less pressure on wrists and knees. Knees, you can always have a soft blanket underneath your knees. One more breath in your downward facing dog. And then we'll take our gaze right between your hands. So walk or jump up to that forward fold. Take that left hand onto the mat, generous bend to that left knee. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Opposite side. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Release your hand. We're going to slowly roll up. Head comes up last. This is a good practice of physically letting go. And as we're building the bridges of our mental and emotional body, we're also letting go emotionally, mentally. Learn to move slowly with your body. Inhale here. Exhale. You can choose a mountain pose, hands framing your hips, or you can take your hands right in front of your heart center. Keep your gaze steady across the floor or room, or close your eyes. Inhale, exhale, side out. Inhale again. Exhale, side out. Release your hands. We're going to come into a two-legged balance. Lift your arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up. Opened eyes, keep your gaze steady. A steady gaze is a steady mind. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands, release your feet, pedal your feet back and forth. Interlace your fingers behind you, draw your shoulder blades closer together. Bend your knees, fold all the way down, forward fold. Stop and neck and head. Hands to shins, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, second round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Third round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Sweep your arms up overhead or roll up slowly, your choice. Make it your personal practice. Hands in front of your heart center or hands framing your hips. Inhale here, exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. Noticing by welcoming our breath, we are welcoming our experience. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hands. Soften your shoulders. Now we'll come into a two-legged balance again, but this time it's in preparation of our tree pose. So we come into this two-legged balance, noticing both feet on the floor. We're going to notice that contrast with one foot on the floor in tree pose. You want 2 feet on the floor, noticing those fluctuations, that paradox of stillness and movement within a balanced pose. You're practicing a steady gaze and a steady breath as well. Shoulders relaxed, glutes and core active. Now release your feet, release your hands. So very similar, but now grounded in one foot. And then not only are we activating our glutes and core, for our tree pose, we also have to have our hips open. You're gonna ground your left foot onto the floor. Take your opposite foot to your shin or all the way up to your thigh. You can always use your hands to support you. And then with any of these balance poses, especially the ones that are on one foot, feel free to step in or out of it. You'll notice that a tree pose in the beginning of the day, middle of the day, or end of the day can be very different for you. Hands in front of our heart center. Different positions with your hands. Your hands can be in front of your heart center or framing your hips, or you can lift your arms up overhead. Inhale. And exhale, release your hands, release your feet. Paddle your feet back and forth. I'm gonna ground that balance with a chair pose. Bending our knees, shooting your arms up. And then bend your knees even further, fold down, forward fold, softening neck and head. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Your choice how you come up to standing. Make it your personal practice. Same thing with your mountain pose. Either hands in front of your heart center or hands framing your hips. Last two-legged balance. Lift your arms up overhead. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up. Steady gaze. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hands. Release your feet. Pedal your feet back and forth. And now tree pose, opposite side. Our left foot rests against our ankle, shin, or all the way up to our thigh. You can use your hands to assist you. And then notice this experience here. Now my glute is engaged, my hip is open, my core is strong. I'm placing attention down to my heel all the way up to my crown. My gaze is steady and my breath is even. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands, release your feet, pedal your feet back and forth. Ground those balance poses with a chair pose, arms reach up. I lift my tailbone, I'm grounding through my heels, glutes and quads are active core as well. Chest is open. Release, fold down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Now as I lift up into an upward facing dog, tops of the feet are on the floor, glutes are engaged for extra support. Curl your toes, downward facing dog. Breathe into the backs of your legs here, ground through your palms. And then we'll go through 4 rounds here. Shift into a plank pose. Keep your elbows close to your torso as you release down towards the floor. Inhale up, opening up the chest, lengthening the spine, and then downward facing dog. Take a generous breath in your down dog. Next round, or third round, plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, glutes are engaged, tops of the feet on the floor. Exhale, downward facing dog. Invite a generous breath here or 2. And the next round, plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, holding the pose. Pressing through your palms, heels lifted, hips lifted. Breathing into the backs of your legs, shift into your last little mini flow here. Plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Once in that down dog, lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Grounding through your palms here. And then knee towards your elbow, hold. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. And then opposite side, lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Knee towards your elbow, hover here. And then lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. And then knees on the mat, shift down into a child's pose. Invite a few intentional breaths. About what I mean by that is you're lengthening your inhale and your exhale just a little bit. Notice that presence, that awareness, that spaciousness we've been cultivating throughout the class. See if you can access this. We're really seeing our to-do lists, our tasks, our distractions. We're welcoming this moment, and by welcoming this moment, we are welcoming ourselves. And anytime we welcome ourselves, is a moment of compassion, self-compassion, self-care, self-love. Another breath or two here in your child's pose. And then you'll start to release your child's pose and shift into your seated cross-legged position. Now you'll notice that as you come to a seat, that there's usually one leg that we favor that is the most forward. So switch out that leg in an effort of balance. Noticing we have tendencies to move and use different parts of our bodies less or more. You're grounding your sit bones onto the floor. Those are the bones grounded, where your sit bones are the bones in your glutes, around your glutes. By activating your core and opening your chest, you'll lengthen your spine. Shoulders are relaxed. You choose eyes closed or open. I'm going to take a breath here and then exhale, side out. And then start to release your chin towards your chest. And then roll your head from one shoulder to the next. You can make a full circle or half a circle. Now I recommend moving at your own pace. You can move quickly or slowly. But as a little exercise, see if you can move slower than you normally do, even if it's already slow. And I say so because as we somatically, bodily slow down, it sends a message to us emotionally and mentally to slow down as well. You're releasing your sense of time, your sense of hurry. We'll be here quite a number of breaths, so allow yourself to deepen, to absorb yourself. And I place a lot of attention here around the neck and shoulders because this is an area that we store, not only do we store a lot of tension in, but as we look over our phones, our screens, our computers and laptops, as we drive, we tend to stiffen or scrunch up around the neck and shoulders. And it's such an easy area to take care of to support usual pain, common pain points like your neck, upper back, even down to your lower back. If you prefer to work on meditation, you can always bring your head back to a neutral position. Another breath here or two with these neck rolls. And then you'll start to bring your head back to a neutral position, eyes closed or open. If eyes are open, steady gaze across one point, across the room or floor. Deep belly breath, the same sort of deep belly breath you can go back to at any time throughout your day, your week. And release. Let's lift our arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers, palms up, round your spine, tuck your chin towards your chest, press your palms towards the front. And release. Now lengthen both legs out. As usual, core workout as you release down towards the floor. First, palms face the ceiling, arms are stretched out. Tuck your chin towards your chest, slowly roll down, find a point to hover. And then drop your head all the way back. Once again, that generous breath, the deep belly breath, the same breath you can go back to at any time throughout your week. We'll start to shift into a twist. Feet float off the floor, knees bent. Take your arms out to a T. Drop your legs towards the left. Drop your head towards the right. Scan your neck down the spine to your hips. See where can you soften just 10% further. That's the benefit of these restorative twists. For a holistic yoga practice, we are working on our bodies, not just when it's active, but we also are balancing and getting to know our bodies when it's relaxed and more passive. And here we notice the benefits of both in supporting our physical, mental, emotional health. And bring your knees back to center, opposite side. Knees drop towards the right. Turn your head towards the left. It's critical and important your knees and your head face opposite directions to get a full benefit of the twist. From your spine all to your neck. You want knees and head facing opposite directions. Arms are stretched out. You're still scanning your body, seeing where can you soften, relax just 10% further. Just a little bit more, to emphasize a little bit more, because even though we're laying down, sometimes we think we're relaxed, but there's actually some stored up tension in our bodies. So we're practicing getting to know our bodies, seeing, this is where I'm storing some tension. And then you can soften and let go. And it can be very subtle. And then knees start to come back to center. We're going to start to transition into our final resting pose of the class, our Shavasana. So lengthen your legs, palms face up towards the ceiling, framing your hips. Let's take a generous breath. Belly expands as much as you can. Deep belly expansion on an inhale, and then deep exhale, sigh it out. From here, you can practice some deep intentional breaths or go back to your breath's regular rhythm. There's benefits of either choice. Notice the wisdom of slowing down, of doing nothing. Notice that presence and spaciousness you've been cultivating throughout the class. As a reminder, sometimes this is more accessible, sometimes it's a little less accessible. So always allow yourself to have a fluid practice and just arrive to the experience that's there. The only thing to be intentional about here is softening your body. So I'll go ahead and guide you to a little mini meditation. Soften your forehead, jaw, and neck area so we subconsciously tense up. Soften down your shoulders, elbows, wrists, and fingertips. Imagining your fingertips and palms float just a little bit more. Release the upper back, mid back, lower back to the area around your tailbone. Soften the hips behind the knees down to your ankles and toes. Observe thoughts and sensations. And then we'll start to shift our attention back to our breath. Inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. Noticing that presence and spaciousness cultivated, especially in our Shavasana. You can restore some movement to your fingertips and your toes. You can invite a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, pointing your toes. You can also turn your body to the side, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. Once again, invite a generous and a leisurely breath. It's a very particular type of breath where there is no hurry. And then after another breath here, or two, start to make your way up to your seat. Make any adjustments to feel comfortable. And then take a moment to appreciate that by welcoming your breath, you're welcoming your experience. And anytime you welcome our experience, no matter what is there, we're practicing self-compassion and self-care. And so that we may better serve others, remind yourself that caring for yourself is important so you can be of service to others. So on that note, we'll conclude our class with an intentional breath. Let's take our hands in front of our heart center. Inhale here and exhale. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. May we walk with each other in gratitude.